My name is Kim. I'm 45 years old and have become a health geek as I've started to feel back pain when I get up from bed, so I've been trying my best to run and eat healthy. Come to think of it, for the past few years, I've made only one wish when I pay a visit to a shrine on New Year's Day. May I stay healthy. In the past, I used to make a wish like, may I get along with the boy in the next class. I can feel my age from even the most humble of places. Today, I would like to talk about the time before I became a health geek. I hope you'll listen to it. Let me take you back 10 years ago. I was 35 years old, as cute as an idol, and everyone would look at me when I walked down the street. I'm sorry, that's a lie. I wish I looked like that back then. During that time back then, I quit the company I was working for and was guarding my home as best as I could. My brother, Scott, who is 2 years older than me, said to me,
I'm going to get married,
and brought a beautiful woman to our house. I was really impressed by her captivating beauty. It's like she was shining. She was wearing heavy makeup and fake eyelashes. Fake eyelashes were made to make the eyes look bigger, but there were also glitter on the tips of her lashes. Her lips were glistening with gloss. To be honest, I was worried that she might catch a fly or something. Her hair was loosely curled, which gave it just the right amount of loose texture, and her nails were so finely designed that one could tell at a glance that they had been done at a salon. This is a pro. She's not one of those girls, that's for sure. At that moment, the house felt like a nightclub, I thought. My parents were probably a bit puzzled as well. My prediction came true. The woman, Remy, and my brother had met at a bar. My brother told me that he had seduced Remy, who was a lounge girl, as if it were a fairy tale. But I don't think that it was his skill at all. My brother is rich enough to be recognized at a glance. What do I mean? He's covered from head to toe in name brand clothes, which I tell him not to do because it's tacky. Glasses, suits, ties, pins, belts, shoes, everything name brand. If such a rich looking guy were to make a pass at me, I would be like, I'm not interested. I would fold my arms and say just that. A brand name wallet covered in jewelry. Then there's the Amex card that comes out of the wallet. I can imagine a brand new Gucci wallet and an Amex card coming out of it. Then I would show my beautiful smile just for you. And it's not right that my brother, who was born without our mother's sense of style and whose only merit is his kindness, could have a girlfriend like that. Oh, come on. I'm so prejudiced against both my brother and Remy. It's rude, I thought to myself. But it was also true that I couldn't shake off the image of Remy's flamboyant appearance, which I didn't think she had come to greet me for marriage, coupled with the fact that she was wearing a revealing miniskirt. Moreover, I learned from my brother for the first time that day that Remy was only 20 years old. I was 35. I had no idea that I was going to have a younger sister-in-law. I already didn't know how I should behave. Remy-chan, no. Sister? My head was in turmoil. My mother said, 37? And 20? My father said,
if my son chooses.
His face was like a samurai that heard his son chose to join the war. Scott may or may not have known of our embarrassment. I'm going to marry Scott, so please take care of me. Remy laughed in a nonchalant manner. We were stunned from start to finish as we literally received only a marriage report without any lively conversation from Remy. One night later, my brother said to me,
I'm sure you must have felt embarrassed, and I understand how you feel. I want you to come to a dinner party with me and Remy next time. If you just relax and talk to her, you'll see that she's a good girl, he said. It is true that we have fixed our impression of Remy by her appearance and the way she speaks. Maybe she is a good girl if we talk to her. I didn't talk to Remy much yesterday. I was not keen on the idea, but I decided to get to know Remy properly for the sake of his happiness. My parents seemed to feel the same way, and with the agreement of everyone in the family, a dinner party hosted by Scott was held the following weekend. Surprisingly, the mood at the dinner was friendly from start to finish. When you think about it, Remy is a lounge girl. In other words, she is in the hospitality business. She had the skill to draw out good conversation even from people like our family, who were a bit more reserved. She would talk about Scott and other topics, so we never lost track of what she was talking about. From the outside, Remy gave the impression of living in a different world from ours. I was prejudiced. I'm sorry. I reflected on that. Then, a problem arose when I was about to return to my seat after leaving the restroom at the restaurant.
No, they were all really plain, especially his mother, with her face full of spots and wrinkles. I really can't take it like that. I don't want to grow old like that. I thought they were rich, but their house was normal. I really think I married him too soon. I'm afraid that I won't be able to stand his father, who is too much of an old man. I think I'll make up an affair and get a divorce as soon as I can. My future sister-in-law is older than me. She's too old to have a boyfriend. She's fat and a neat. She's so stereotypical. I've got to get out of here before I'm told I have to take care of him in the future. Has my prejudice gone so far that my eyes and ears have gone crazy? I am. Remy, my future sister-in-law, is happily talking bad about our family with her cell phone in one hand in the aisle. Because of that, I couldn't go back to my seat. What should I do? What are you talking about? Should I say that? Or should I keep quiet? While I was agonizing over this, the phone call seemed to have ended and Remy went back to her seat. I returned after a short pause and wondered why I should care. Before I knew it, the dinner party was over and I wondered whether I should break the friendly mood. After that, Scott continued to hold many more dinner parties until the very last minute before the wedding, out of his strong desire to make Remy a member of the family, both in name and in reality. Our parents began to enjoy them. Remy's reputation skyrocketed. Everyone was surprised, and the atmosphere among the family members toward her was great. I didn't record Remy's phone call. I didn't even hear the other person's voice. In addition, Remy is a very good girl in front of my family. Her acting is so good, I probably would have believed her if she told me that phone call was a misunderstanding or a mishearing. Even now, I wonder if I just misheard her. I can't help but wonder. He's still my big brother after all. What should I do? I spent many days scratching my head. Then one day, I received a message from my brother.
Remy wants to go out for dinner with you. I'll pay for it, so don't worry.
He pointed to a map of a certain restaurant. It turned out to be a rather expensive Italian restaurant. I was happy to get free meals, but why did he choose only me? I'm scared. But Anit, with so much time on her hands, has no reason to refuse. So I went to the Italian restaurant. Kim, thank you for coming. I honestly did not feel bad when Remy recognized me and welcomed me with great joy. I always thought that she was very good at making people happy. I thought I must have misheard her on the phone. However, as the meal progressed, I gradually began to feel uneasy. Kim, it's been quite a while, but you heard my phone call, didn't you? Yes? At our first dinner party, I went back to my seat and you came right back, but the woman who went to the restroom after you came out from behind me at the same time as you. There's only one women's restroom there. You didn't go in there together, did you? Remy laughed as she said this. Oh my goodness. I'm being watched so closely. Indeed, if I recall, I think woman went into the restroom while I was listening to the phone call. To be honest, I don't remember much because I was panicked by the content of Remy's call. Speechless and unable to pause, I took a mouthful of pasta in front of me. Food takes precedence over chatting. You're getting fatter and fatter, aren't you? She laughed at me. You're trying to provoke me, aren't you? I was aware of it. I knew it. Don't tell Scott or your parents about that conversation, okay? Remy laughed as she said this. As a side note, I gained weight because I was working for a bad company, which destroyed my life and caused me to overeat due to the stress caused by unreasonable pressure from my boss. At one point, I was petite and skinny, and now I gained weight because I was always putting something in my mouth to relieve stress. It's true that I'm fat, but now that I'm taking care of my mental health, I feel like I can open up and say, what's wrong with being fat? If I were a sumo wrestler, I wouldn't think it was bad, but I'm not a sumo wrestler, and I'm even bigger than the standard weight of one. I'm just fine with my size, because it's important for me to be able to live a non-stressful life. Remy has no right to tell me what to do when I'm not bothering her in the first place. Since you've heard this story, you already know that you and your mother are a little embarrassing. You understand, don't you? No. I've been told I'm embarrassing time and time again. I get it. I wouldn't say my thought out loud. I just imagined that I was somewhere else. I can't tell your mother-in-law not to come to the ceremony, but Kim, you're honestly my sister. You don't have to go. It's hard to move when you're fat, isn't it? I'll send you a wedding invitation as a formality, but I'd rather you not attend the wedding because you have other plans. Oh, and don't worry. I'll get your congratulatory gift. $1,500? I should even get more from you than that. Do you really think Anit has such important plans that she has to cancel attending her brother's wedding? There's no such thing as too fat to move when I've come all the way to this restaurant. I calmed down the desire to plunge my clenched fist into Remy's face. I understand. I'll be absent as you wish. I don't care about anything. And with that, I left the restaurant. When I got home, I told my mother, I'm not going to Scott's wedding, I said, and my mother replied, What's the matter with you all of a sudden? My mother panicked, and my father said,
What's going on?
My father wondered. Remy told me that she'll take the congratulatory gift of $1,500 from me and ask me not to come to the wedding. Fat people are embarrassing. I summarized a bit, but it was the same thing.
Really? Remy said that?
My father and mother, who could not hide the puzzled look on their faces, as if to say, I can't believe it, but I can't believe my daughter would tell a lie. I understand, because I've been feeling the same way as you right now. But listen to this. I gently placed the recorder on the table. Yes, we were eating alone this time, so I had it with me just in case something happened. I wanted to have proof this time. When Remy asked me if I had been eavesdropping on her phone calls, I turned it on. When my parents heard the recording, they turned pale, angry, red, and negative 100 times. After hearing everything,
She mocked my family!
My father yelled and slammed his hands on his desk. I told him that I was wary of Remy because she had said something similar at the first dinner party. He brought a nasty wife. My mother's head was in her hands. No, she's not his wife yet. My brother hasn't registered his marriage yet. My parents looked at me with surprise.
I see. No, but what about the wedding? If we offer to cancel it, isn't Scott the one who will ask for a cancellation fee?
My father said anxiously. Don't worry, I have a good idea. I won't let you lose a penny, I replied emphatically. We then split up and called Scott's invited guests one by one to inform them to cancel their participation for the wedding. I set up a web-based recording of the call so that the people who would be attending would know what had happened. Of course, I could have told them what had happened verbally, but I wanted those who didn't believe me to be able to listen to the live audio. It's not obvious at first sight, but it is obvious at first hearing. On the phone, we apologized for being lenient in our choice of wife and for getting everyone involved, and sincerely told them why we didn't want them to attend. I would be lying if I said I wasn't anxious. It would be like exposing the family's pettiness, and I was afraid that no one would listen to such an outrageous request, and that I would be disowned by my relatives. But when I picked up the phone and said, My parents want to help their precious son, and we know it's selfish of us, but please help, surprisingly, everyone agreed with us.
You can't let him marry like that.
I was even scolded. He was right. In the end, we managed to inform everyone about the situation and get them to not attend the wedding. We told the wedding hall that due to a series of circumstances, the groom's side would not be attending, except for people from his business whom we did not have contact information for. We were sorry to have caused so much trouble.
If that's the case, then there's nothing to be done about that.
I was able to convince them. I think it was more like the heart of the person in charge was moved, rather than the consensus of the wedding hall. I may have given them a hard time behind the scenes, but I will surely remember this kind gesture. Next was Scott. 3 weeks before the wedding, I told him that everyone would not be attending. He was stunned after I told him everything about Remy.
I understand,
he said. If my brother thinks he wants to get married no matter what, this plan would fail. But that's my sister's instinct. I'm sure he'll be fine. Finally, late on the night before the wedding, a storm broke out at our house. What's going on? Remy stormed into our house with her parents. Scott was behind them. Oh, Remy, what's wrong? My mother said, as if nothing was wrong. What do you mean, what's wrong? Suddenly this week, the number of calls saying they won't be at the wedding slowly increased. I thought it was strange, so I asked Scott about it, and he said that his family won't be there either. What is this on a beautiful day? That's as it should be. We had asked everyone in the wedding hall to cancel their participation early, but we had told them to notify their absence at the last minute. If I had at least kept quiet about the phone call until the wedding, the ceremony would have gone off without a hitch, but Remy went out of her way to contact me. I was convinced that her character, which is unexpectedly reserved and acts immediately when she gets an idea, would be exposed by making me feel rushed. You said that this family is embarrassing. He didn't want his parents to come to the ceremony either. I just told it like it is, and all the relatives decided not to go, okay? Don't lie to me. How could you try to ruin such an important day with a lie? The number of attendees is less than half. What are you going to do about it? Remy's father and mother were half crazy. Poor Remy. They hugged her close. What do you mean by this? Do you mean you want to break up the marriage? Remy's mother glared at us sharply, but that was not for us to answer. Scott, I don't think so, but are you just going to stand there the whole time? I asked him, but he looked as if he didn't know what he should do. What do you want to do? The most important thing to remember is that you are the one who has to decide what to do. Do you want to get married? At my words, my father said,
I don't approve,
he said, but I restrained him. It was important to let Scott give his own answer so that he would have no regrets. This is the woman he vowed to marry. This is her true nature. She's an evil woman. I can understand why it would be hard to believe right away, but my brother is not a man without judgment. I believed in him.
I loved Remy, and I really wanted to marry her.
You see, Scott's also saying this, so you freaks should look at the situation properly. Remy, thinking she had my brother's words behind her and perhaps loosening up, unintentionally called us, you freaks. My brother seemed to have noticed the change and laughed sadly.
Oh wow. I'm really not a good judge of character. I've never been in love, so when I thought I was going to marry a beautiful girl, I got all excited.
That's because you have a track record of being unattractive for your entire life, but you keep your expectations too high. Look in the mirror of reality.
That's right. The blood of unattractiveness runs in my family from the generation of my great-grandfathers who passed away. This family has been unpopular for generations. You too should be proud to be unpopular.
Hey, I was never unpopular.
Mom, don't lie to us.
My parents and I were torturing Scott. He laughed.
I'm glad I had a good relationship. Even if it was only for a while, I've made up my mind. I'm not going to get married.
At that moment, my parents' expressions brightened, and I gave them a high five. Wait, what's going on? You can't just decide on your own and then yell and scream about it with your family. Remy shouted angrily. That's right. The wedding is tomorrow. Please take this more seriously. What is this family embarrassment you've been talking about? It was Remy's mother who asked me that. Finally, this question came. It was like a gut punch. Well, if she hadn't come to me, I would have just told her myself someday, but it's more likely to resonate with the other person if she is interested and asks me. If I tried to force them to listen, they would just ignore me. Why, thank you for asking. Let me show you why the wedding is cancelled. I played back the audio. Remy's parents' faces gradually turned pale as they listened to the audio. This is why. But Remy was strangely calm. I've heard her say many things about our family in addition to this recording. That's why I was the only one called on this day. And the fact that she herself mentioned it in the audio as the reason why she wanted to see me is the best proof of that. To my words, Remy said, "It's fake." And Remy's parents shook their heads.
I'm sorry. My child is entirely to blame.
It was Remy's father who spoke up first.
I was trying to raise her in a carefree way, but it seems I gave her too much freedom. I'm sorry for causing you trouble.
Seeing the father bowing deeply. What? Remy was upset. Wait a minute, Dad! Why are you apologizing? You apologize too. Without a pause, it was Remy's mother who raised her voice. I had no idea that you had become such an insultingly rude girl. I came to your house because I believed in you, and you have brought me so much embarrassment. Don't make me apologize to the family's father. What? What's wrong with you? Even you, Mother? Aren't you on my side? At that moment, Remy's father slapped her cheek with a loud smack.
That's enough. Since when did you become such a shallow child? Don't forget that you even ruined Scott's life.
Behind Remy's father, Scott was blurting out an extremely heated statement.
I'm not going to get married anyway, so my life won't be ruined by this. Don't let her ruin anyone else's.
I almost laughed at him. The fact that he was responding more openly than anyone else somehow felt like it was in our family's blood.
Scott, I want to let you and the rest of your family know that I am truly sorry about this.
Remy's father forced her to bow her head, and her mother bowed her head as well. As if that wasn't enough, Remy's father and mother got down on their knees. Look up! We were so impatient that we said that to them right away.
No, I didn't know I was being so rude, but I am ashamed because I didn't know. I can't make amends by humiliating you like this and causing you trouble. The only proper apology is to get down on my knees.
To be honest, I didn't feel humiliated, but I could feel Remy's father's thoughts painfully.
Let's cancel the wedding.
What? Dad? The wedding is already tomorrow. We'll have to pay the cancellation fee in full.
So what? You should be thankful that you can settle it with money. You did something that you don't deserve any amount of forgiveness. You should be thankful to your family for exposing her, Scott.
Remy's father yelled at us with red eyes, and Remy's mother turned her head down in embarrassment. I am so sorry. She bowed her head again and again. Wait a minute! Wait! Dad, I can't pay!
We'll pay. You pay us back, no matter how many years it takes, and we'll never see you again.
Are you kidding me? She pulled on her father's clothes frantically. Hey, why am I being kicked out? Dad, say something. Mom! Remy shouted. If you were a girl who understood that, you wouldn't be in this situation. If you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't have let this happen. Remy's mother looked at her with deep contempt. You're kidding. Remy slumped down on the floor in a heap. I chuckled inwardly at this unexpectedly violent turn of events. I wouldn't be surprised if she was disowned. Even if you are plain or fat, you at least have fangs to fight. Don't underestimate us, or you'll be in a lot of pain.
Scott, and your family too. As for cancellations, don't worry. We'll pay for the cancellation and all the money you've spent up to this point.
I almost smiled, thinking that it was being helpful, but then I put on a serious face. Thank you very much. I bowed my head. My parents' faces were also flustered, so I tried not to say, Yay! I couldn't understand what they were trying to say. Scott, taking advantage of the fact that Remy and her family could not see him, expressed his joy with a small amazing without making a sound. I know how you feel, but you're the only one who didn't do anything, so calm down a little, I thought to myself. After that, less than a month after the cancellation of the ceremony, Remy's parents gave us $22,000 as a consolation payment, which was the sum of the money spent up to this point, including the betrothal money, in addition to the confectionery money and the cancellation fee. As for the fee, Remy's parents said it would be very difficult if we had to go to court, and we would have to pay the court costs, so Remy's father told me that he would give the price he asked for. We were honestly troubled by the price, but we thought it should be a reasonable amount, so we offered an average amount in the market. However, what Remy's father actually gave us was the amount we had specified plus $11,000. To be honest, I don't know if we would have received this amount even if we had gone to court. I'm sure that there would have been a lot of crying and stress, because it usually doesn't work out like a fairy tale. I would like to thank Remy's parents for their sincerity. The girl in question was evicted from her home penniless after her parents took all her savings to pay off the debt. She said she had been living half homeless, moving from one friend's house to another, and camping out at train stations when she can't find a place to stay. Her parents seemed to have come to terms with the fact that it was their daughter's own fault, and it didn't matter if she was put in harm's way. I think that her parents have finally started showing her tough love.
I have told her to show her face once a month to repay the loan, so I can confirm her survival.
How complicated it must have been for her parents during that situation. 10 years have passed since then. He married his wife, who was not flashy or dazzling at all, but was an excellent cook who worked at a Japanese kappa restaurant. Since Scott loved to eat and walk around, she must have literally grabbed him by the stomach. Since getting married, he rarely eats out, but flies home to enjoy his wife's delicious cooking, and I honestly didn't want to work for a company anymore, so I became a freelance translator. I was already somewhat familiar with languages from my previous job, where I had been involved in sales and marketing to foreigners. When I learned that freelance translators were in demand, I studied hard and was able to successfully achieve my goal. I'm now earning a significantly larger annual salary in a much looser environment than when I was working for that bad company. What was also lucky was that when I was immersed in my studies, my overindulgence completely retracted, and I returned to my lowest weight before I started working. I'm no longer fat or skinny, but average. Well, I don't know if average is something to be proud of. I don't know if I'm proud to call myself average, but I'm very happy to be back to my normal. And thanks to my translation work, I married a beautiful looking husband from England, if I do say so myself. When I introduced him to my family, Scott said,
"You're cheating," or "He won't fall for the plain gene in you."
Needless to say, I was told a lot. My husband, holding a picture of the Japanese novelist, Murasaki Shikibu in one hand, said, "Kim's face is very Japanese. I really like Kim's Japanese-like face," he said. In case you're wondering, my husband did not offend me at all. He was really complimenting me. It's a complicated situation, but since my husband liked me, I think it's okay if I look like Murasaki Shikibu. My daughter is now 4 years old, and although we live in a strange house where English and Japanese are mixed together, it is a very lively and happy life. Speaking of worries, my daughter's bedtime reading is a picture book of the tale of Genji, one of Murasaki's novels. I thought, how can she sleep with this? I wondered if this would help her sleep. But surprisingly, she seems to like it, and today she fell asleep peacefully.